My favorite memory of Inman Connect is actually Inman Disconnect, the very first one back in 2017, where we went out into the woods in Northern California, and it was very rustic. It's not like it is today where they go to Palm Springs and they drink cucumber water and they play croquet and it's all very nice, it's beautiful. This was very rustic, and compounded by the fact that the speakers, the first one came out, and she was a woman who takes pictures with trees naked. Now, the trees are naked, but she's also naked when she takes those pictures, so she was interesting. But then even better, the second speaker was a woman who worked for the Cannabis Association. Now, this is back in 2017 when cannabis was still a really unknown industry and it was still just medicinal marijuana. But she gives a great talk about it. And then someone jokingly asks her, well, do you have any samples? And she's like, well, I never travel without samples. Opens up, swear to God, big suitcase full of samples, which everyone then digs into. 2 hours later, there's a drum circle, people dancing, there's music, all sorts of gaiety. It was like Midsummer Night's Dream, but with slightly older and less attractive people. But it was amazing. But just to be clear, none of those people dancing and doing all that stuff was anyone who works for you or who you work for or really anyone you know. It was just other people. But that's my favorite Inman Connect memory from Inman Disconnect 2017. Thank you, Brad.
Good stuff, right, today? I mean, I just really appreciated Don speaking about how it's the role of all of us, men and women, to support women and their empowerment, you know, especially after an event like yesterday where I had those 3 amazing leaders on the stage. Now, I have some more amazing leaders to bring up to the stage for you today. And, you know, the topic of this next session is how to stay one step ahead. Who else wants to stay one step ahead? Right? Okay, good. I didn't see enough hands. Come on, seriously? All right. Well, so next up we have Santiago Arana from the agency and Tommy Rose from Aston Rose, moderated by the very lovely Katie Kosib. Hey guys. Have a seat.
All the way down?
Yep, wherever you want.
Funny story, Tommy is a smart woman and she wore some fuzzy leopard slippers down the stairs, and I looked down and I thought, is she gonna wear I don't know what's going on, and then you changed into the shoes, so I thought I was gonna have to save you. I thought it was gonna be an accident. Welcome, you two.
Thank you.
This is so exciting. We'll jump right into it. So the point of these, when I come up here, I want to talk to you like I'm a member of the audience, and they get what they want from the two of you and learn how you've found so much success. Sound good?
Great.
Sounds good.
Great. All right, Tommy, let's start with you. Tell me where you sell and what your niche is, because I know you do have one.
My company's Aston Rose, and we're in California and Florida, and I sell in Florida, and my niche is sports and entertainment.
Awesome. What about you?
I work in Los Angeles in the Brentwood office, and most recently I'm going to operate a little bit in Miami. We're opening our first office in South Florida in Bal Harbor.
Okay.
So I'm on my way there after this.
See, I wanted that to be more dramatic. He's announcing it in like 30 minutes, like to the public, right? So that's pretty great. Round of applause for you. That's a big ordeal, opening an office. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Before we jump into how successful the two of you are and how you do it and how you maintain an actual life, I want to hear a little bit about your background, like where you came from, and how this all started, because I think a lot of times the audience sees people up here and they're like, damn, like that's the life. They must just like were born into it. Their life's perfect, not like mine, which is chaos, and I don't even know what's happening half the time. So I want them to know you're real. So tell me about yourself, Tommy.
Born in Flint, Michigan, raised in Terre Haute, Indiana. I moved to Miami in 1996. Oh, that's telling my age, sorry. I'm a mom first, a wife first and second, and then I'm, an agent selling. So it's kind of hard sometimes to put it all together, with the text messaging, social media, the children, the husband, the activities, but, you have to find those moments where you can have quiet family time, because family is always first for me. Yeah. And I have taken kids to showings before. I don't know if that's appropriate, but hey, it worked out. I sold a house. So yeah, just getting a good balance.
And tell me, how old's your daughter, you said?
I have a 6-year-old and I have a 20-year-old son who plays college basketball.
Mind-blowing. So Tommy's at the stage where the 6-year-old daughter is always dancing in front of her saying, watch me, look what I can do, Mom, while she's trying to do deals. So we know how chaotic that is.
Yes.
But fun. All right, Santiago, what's your background?
So I'm originally from Bolivia. I moved to the United States in 2003. The reason that I came here was to learn English because I didn't speak a word of English, and I needed to do a scholarship in Israel that was taught in English for a master's degree in finance.
Wow.
So I came to the US, I learned English, and I liked it, and I never left.
Wow. See, you don't brag. You don't brag on yourself, neither of you. I was hoping you'd come out here and be like, listen, what a badass I am. Let me tell you about it. So you spoke no English. You came, and now you're like uberly successful. That's amazing.
Now
So,
I speak a little bit.
Enough, right?
pretty good. Tell me how you got into the business.
So I was a busboy. I was waiting tables and I was doing all that while I was learning English. And once I made a decision to stay here, I needed to find out what I was going to do. So having a degree in business administration, I started to drop resumes in different places. And the offers they were making me weren't really exciting. You know, I was looking at these offers and I was like comparing, and somehow I stumbled upon someone that was doing real estate. Well, my cousin was doing loans actually. And he will sit and do a few loans and make a lot more money, right? And I'll be like, what do you do? So he told me about real estate, about loans, and he said, you do better in real estate, you should get your license. So I got my license and I started doing it and, worked very hard and pays off.
But how, like, what did, in the beginning, we don't have any business, you don't have, like, you weren't even from here, so it's not like you had this huge sphere, so how did you build that?
Yeah, well, that was the challenge, right? No relatives, no college roommates, no high school friends, none of that. So you have to just start from scratch. And so what the basics are: cold calling, door knocking, sending letters, going meeting people, which for the first 4.5 years was a challenge because I needed to work in the restaurant as I was doing that during the day and then go in the restaurant at night. Until I got to a point where I just started to meet people and create my own, portfolio of clients. And but it takes a lot, right? You need to go out and you need to meet people, right? So for me, big door knocking was a big one. Because of the English, I will get on the phone, I'll start talking to someone, and didn't make it to the first 10 seconds and hang up on me. So, but in person, I was able to connect better with people.
It's funny, everyone that we've had on stage, I feel like Inman does a great job of choosing amazing people to sit here, but you're all very genuine, and you can tell if you're gonna door knock, you gotta be a genuine human being, otherwise, get the hell out of here. And I'm sure that's why it worked for you. So, Tommy, tell me, how did you get into the business?
So very different from Santiago, but I am, based in Miami and everyone there speaks Spanish and I don't. So I had to figure out my niche. So that's what I would just tell everybody. Figure out your niche and go with your book of business. Start there. I never door knocked. I never cold called. But what I did do is I had amazing relationships. And also, I'm a social butterfly. So I would go out, I would network, and then I would just follow up with those people. So that's how I built my book of business. And then just having clients call me directly. I never, to be honest, before 2012, I never advertised myself. So I'm very unconventional in that type of way.
I watch people, that sounds creepy, but I've watched you since I met you 1 hour ago in person. And what you do is you go directly up to people and you introduce yourself with no fear whatsoever. And I've seen you do that a couple of times. And I think a lot of people are afraid of doing that, like imposter syndrome, they don't want to meet me, whatever. And I bet that's really helped you in your success as well. I'm very confident.
Yeah, I think that's from being a cheerleader. It's just open, because you go to cheerleading camp. So that really just opened up me, just being able to go up to someone and say, hey, how you doing? I'm Tommy Rose, and I'm going to give you the first and the last name.
Oh, that's good. That's good. All right. So I usually end with this question, but let's go ahead and kind of open with it. 3 bits of advice, or 1, or whatever, 5, I don't care, for the audience, the people out here who are like, I want to implement something new. I want to feel that fire again for this business. I love helping people, but I need something that I can go home and make happen for myself. So how can you inspire these folks, or what advice do you have?
So I would definitely tell you I would go back to find that niche and then go and make that your one thing that you do. So sports and entertainment is mine, so I'm comfortable with using that as an example. But my first client was by accident. And then I said, I have all these athletes' numbers. They have my number. They call me. So I had to turn that into business. So I would say first, you have to find your niche. Don't look at anybody else's because, in Miami, there's a lot of heavy hitters. And when I first started, I was like, oh my God, this one, that one, what are they doing? But I had to find what Tommy was good at and stick to that. So find your niche, whether it's doctors, professionals, pilots, business people, whoever, sports, entertainment, whoever they are, and go after that and master that, because that's what I did. I mastered it, and then I figured out how to, in 2013, create the first sports and entertainment division. And then after that, I keep reinventing myself. So after a couple years, I'm like, okay, I did that, I did this, I did that. So now I need to reinvent that wheel and come up with something new and creative. And then now I own a sports and entertainment real estate firm. So just reinventing yourself within your space. So if you're the specialist of the doctors, figure out how can I be the best, right? How can I get in front of those new doctors? How can I get in front of, the old doctors, and just creating a way and a path for yourself. That's the first thing I would tell you to do. And I think that's the most important, because relationships is everything in this business.
Yeah.
If you don't have relationships, then you don't have business.
We keep talking about relationships, and I know we always talk about social media and relationships, but now more than ever, the last 2 years were they were bonkers, right? We don't even know. It was funny. We were talking in the green room in Las Vegas. Of course, the crowd's great. We're all excited that you're here, but nobody knew how to talk to anybody anymore. So it was kind of like a lot of in Las Vegas, and everyone's so alive now, and you guys are look happy to be here. I'm sure you're happy to be there too, but we had forgotten, right? Yeah. And on our prep call, we talked a lot about relationships and CRMs and so on. So I'd love for you to give the audience your advice on CRMs and just building those relationships and loyalty back.
Sure, but before we do that, I wanted to touch on something, because as you're speaking, I'm thinking, and a lot of people, I meet a lot of agents and people that are in this business, and they don't even know if they'd like to be in this business, right? So I think that the key to be successful in this business is to understand what you do and what it takes, and you need to like what you're doing. Yeah. And I think you need to have a goal and a direction, right, of where you want to go and what it's going to take to get there, right? Yes. So I think if you have a clear picture is the most important thing for me, right? I always think about, you cannot be the best 100% of yourself if you don't in alignment with what is that you want and what are your goals and where you're going, in what direction you're going. So once you figure that out, yes, I think that having all the systems and everything is important, right? CRM systems, having a way how to be in touch with your clients all the time. I was telling you that I do it in a more casual way, where if I'm driving in LA through a taco stand and I thought about a client that we once were there, I call that client. So every time I think about a client on my day, I just keep calling. But CRM systems are there, the technology is here now, so might as well use it, right? So you have systems that can automatically send emails, they can, send you reminders to call someone. It's very important to have all that organized, because we go in our days and it gets a little crazy and we forget about a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So.
Now I want to talk about, because you both have done a fantastic job of branding yourself and name recognition. When you introduce yourself, it's I'm Tommy Rose. It's very cool, right? And through social and just your life, it sounds cool. You both done a fantastic job with that. So let's start with you. How important is branding, name recognition, and what's your advice for the audience if they need to, really get out there and get people to know their name, so when they think real estate, they think you?
Branding is really important. So how you put yourself out there, how you present yourself, how do you put yourself on social media, just for an example, right? A little private example. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning today to get hair and makeup done because I wanted to present myself in a, nice, beautiful canvas to you guys.
Great job, they did good.
But, okay, that's a sore thumb. But at the same time, I do the same thing with social media. I wake up, I think about, I don't have anyone run my social media because it's very important for me to do it, because I don't want someone to put the wrong messaging or imaging, or if I say, whatever I say, I said it. So, and hopefully it's the right thing that I said, but I, put myself out there. I do my own social media. But it's very important, your imaging, your pictures that you take of yourself, of the houses, is very, very, very important, because you can gain business from that as well.
I think you've done a really good job too, and something for us all to remember, like who is your audience, right? Like who is watching you? You want to attract more of them, obviously, and you do a fantastic job of that on social. I can tell you're very conscious of that when you're doing it. So follow her on Instagram now.
Thank you.
She needs to have 3,000 extra followers by the end of this, or else. All right, talk to me about, we talked a lot about this on our phone call, but like name recognition, and really want you to go into, when they think real estate, they think you. How does that happen?
It's like anything in life, right? When you think of soda, you think Coca-Cola. When you think about cars, you might have a favorite brand. So I think that it's very important to be authentic, to be who you are, because then you don't need to be remembering what personality are you when you're in business and when you go back home, right?
Yes.
So I think you need to be yourself, because by being yourself, you will attract the people that connect with your personality and your traits, right? There is enough business out there for everybody. So you want to be working with people that might like it and that you get along with. So to me, that's very important, just be out there, and because then you will build relationships there for a long term. They're not just a one-time sale and then go and find another client. A lot of my business is repeated clients, and I became friends with a lot of my clients.
Yeah.
And we have a good time. So then work out of the sudden doesn't seem to be work, right? It becomes more fun.
Yeah. It's funny, we, if you two are, you can just tell good people, right? Like your clients probably like you, and you end up forging these relationships. So I'm fearful for the people in the audience that maybe I hope you all are good people as well, because it really helps a lot if your clients want to continue to be friends with you because you're a nice human being. If you're not, then this may not help you, this entire conversation. But for those of you who are fantastic and decent, let's go a little bit more into that. So providing value, we're hearing a lot, even in like the luxury realm and pretty much any price range. Our clients have never been less loyal than I feel like they are right now, because they're like, I know there's like 20 offers on that house and you are at your child's play. Like, I'm just gonna go myself and I'm gonna get it done. And that's kind of a frightening, it's even more stress on us. So how are you providing the amount of value? How are you providing like massive value to your clients so they don't go elsewhere? How do you cultivate those relationships so that they call you back? Like, what do you do different?
So I definitely think for my athlete clients, like for instance, I'll give you this good example. Khalid Martin, Miami Heat player, he was new to the city. He's a client of mine. He didn't have his car yet. He was going to take an Uber to go to Target. I'm a mom first, right? And a wife. So I'm like, you're not going to take an Uber. Like, I'll just take you, right? So I took him to Target and did a whole shopping experience with him, picking out thread counts and all this great stuff that he probably doesn't want me telling everybody today. Sorry, Khalid, but it's a great story. But it's just providing that extra little bit, right? Whether it's your assistant, it's you. I'm very personable, so that was like, okay, I needed to go to Target anyway, because I do not shop that much online. I like to go into the store. It's like,
Who doesn't like Target? Right.
Yeah, so I think just taking an extra step, just trying to figure out what your clients need, meeting them where they're at. And that's what has been very successful for me, is just meeting my clients where they're at. Whether it's going into the studio and being there for 5 hours, which that's not really that great, but
Sounds cool.
But that's before we had all this great technology, right? So I've been doing this for 20 years. So going to the studio, sitting there for 5 hours, getting papers signed, documents signed, and then, like you said, you build those relationships, and then now the clients know you, and they have a trust with you, and they're like, wow, she sat here in the studio and listened to Drake and Nicki Minaj and Lil Wayne make these albums, then maybe she's a good agent.
That does not sound boring. I will be honest with you. My life is boring. That is not. So, yeah. That's very cool. All right, Santiago, like providing value, what would you recommend?
I think sometimes there is a misunderstanding that you sell a house to someone and then you own that client for life. And I think that if in any relationship, right, if you act and you work like you did in the beginning, then you're most likely going to have that client for the longer term. Yeah. But you sell someone a house and then you feel entitled that that person is going to only buy and sell with you, and you get a little lazy, and then you stop, communicating with that client or bringing value or bringing what you're supposed to bring, which is value, right? Like properties and opportunities. Then guess what's going to happen? There's a lot of people out there that are doing this, and it's a very competitive business. So if you take care of your clients like in the beginning, I think you have more chances of keeping those clients for the long term.
That's awesome.
And then you continue to earn that business. It's not like a one-time event, right? It's continuously bringing value and talking about that.
It's funny because I hope no one in the audience is like, but what's the magic pill? Like, how did you all find success? And I feel like it's just because you're decent human beings and you like think of people before yourself with your clients. Also, we don't have a ton of time left, but how scary was it for you to say, I mean, obviously, who doesn't want to be in sports and entertainment? That sounds awesome. But at the same time, you're like, am I going to alienate anybody else? Are they not going to call me if I go like hardcore into this niche? So did you face that? Were you worried that other people would be like, well, can't call her because...
Well, the great thing is that, I kind of got a little name around town, like the girl who's coming with all these celebrities. So I didn't really start off branding myself like that. It's just, it happened. But I do have other clients, and they actually like the fact that I deal with sports and entertainment because it's the cool thing, right? It's like, wow, you're in sports and entertainment, or maybe your client can do this with me. So I do get other clients as well, but my niche is sports and entertainment because that's what I know best, and that's what I know how to go after. That's who I know how to get more clientele, more business from through word of mouth. And the guys that I work with and the families, they all refer me. So one time you meet with me, they all refer me from their experience. So it was not a scary thing for me, but also, I've been around sports my whole life. Yeah. And my husband used to play basketball. But when I started this business, and I like to say this because I love to empower women, I was a single woman and I was a single mother. So those were two X factors then, right? Like it's very hard. How do you start this business and be successful? One, as a single woman. Two, as a single mother, and then three, kind of attractive. So it's kind of a hard thing to, put together, right?
I love you, yeah.
So, but I did it, and it's just working hard, having, like he said, a system in place. And it wasn't a conventional system. It was maybe more text messaging or whatever I used, right? But just having that system and staying with it. But then once I got a few under my belt, then hundreds more came, which is great.
Awesome. And it's hard. It's hard. You're dragging your kids around. You're just like, and you probably got into it. You said, I'll have more flexibility and I'll have more time to myself. Yeah. Which is not true.
Which is not
As
true.
we all know now, if you're doing
Put in
well.
more hours.
Yeah. Maybe some people have time. All right, Santiago, I'm going to have you help me wrap this up. So what's one bit of advice that when this morning you woke up, you're like, I really want to share that with the audience since you have the platform?
Advice. I mean, look, this is a marathon, right? It's not a sprint race. So I think that you just need to be conscious about that and go out there and just keep doing it, keep working, right? I always think that if you can just focus on the things that you can control, you'll have a better time if you try to control the things that you cannot control, which is what's happening in the world, the war, the financial this, or whatever is happening out there, right? A lot of times becomes a distraction on what you should be doing. But if you can just keep doing what you're doing, you can, Finding Nemo, just keep swimming.
Be decent work.
That's, to me, the most important is execution, right? Because a lot of people come and ask us, what's the secret and what is this? And you can tell an audience like this exactly what to do, and then come back 3 months later and ask who actually did it, and you'll be shocked to see who is actually doing it.
That's true. That's true. Thank you, guys. Thank you both. Applause. I appreciate you. All right.